Greetings, my gender fuck and Orlando babies, and welcome to another mystical and spine-chilling episode of what I like to call Unholy Encounters. I'm your host, Samara Hex Di'Angelo, probably wondering who I have to the left of me. So, tonight's guest is nothing short of legendary, a horror myth brought to life, who's been slaying the scene with bone-chilling performances, jaw-dropping, extraterrestrial looks that defy imagination. Their artistry is both terrifying and breathtaking, a perfect storm of fear and passion. Let's just give a warm welcome to Stygma.
Hey, hello. I have to say, I love the way you talk.
Yeah, everybody says it all the time. So,
Well, no wonder people love you.
yes,
And you just slather the praise on. To quote my mother, flattery will get you anywhere, darling. What do you want?
yes. Well, are the spirits treating you well down in the underworld of like what I like to call home?
In my little cave where I keep all of my art supplies, they've been treating me well. How about you?
Being queen of this and ruler, it takes day by day,
Absolutely, absolutely,
depending on if they're yapping or not.
for sure.
Yes. Well, I have to say your look tonight I actually like. I actually love how you like got out of the box with this terror and beauty. What's the inspiration?
The inspiration is I was going to go a completely different route, but then my clippers broke halfway through shaving my head. And I thought, you know what? This kind of reminds me of Two-Face. And then I thought, let's lean into that. Let's completely change up what we were going to do. I was going to do a Lord of the Rings style work plus glitter.
Oh.
But I'll say that for another day. So I used this little custom made prosthetic using recycled latex
Hmm.
to create a little burn victim. And the dress that I'm wearing, I'm not like padded or anything, but I thought she needed to be seen because
I actually love this.
the plan is to cover her in eyes and possibly
Give me
circular
one second, one second.
memories.
Where is the remote? Stigma, I am so sorry about that. We're
You're good.
back to doing
I
the
can take
interview,
this
but
one.
that TV always gives me a nag in the pain because we have social media time usually at 5 o'clock when I go on social media and comment, repost, all that.
I totally understand. In fact, there's a reason why I do practical effects and nothing with computers because technology's a bitch.
I'll definitely cut the swear out though.
No worries.
Okay, so we are back on talking about your look, and you said you were telling the story of
Oh yeah,
burn
so this
victim.
dress, we had little burn victim Two-Face thing going, plus a bit of eyeliner because why not? And this dress is going to get modified. It's going to be covered in eyeballs and circular mirrors. But I thought,
Ooh,
it may as well see the light of day before its transformation, at least
it
some.
kind of gives you that kind of like horror but meets club kid kind of vibe.
That's exactly what I'm going for. So I love that.
Well, there is so much to talk about tonight and unpack, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, it's time for my favorite segment called Inferno Revelations.
Yes.
So first off, I hear you're the mastermind behind Punk Rock Makeup Studios. Can you tell us more about how this incredible venture came to life and what inspired you to start it?
I can indeed. I would say that punk rock makeup studio started when I was like a little angsty middle schooler who first discovered Sex Pistols. And it was this whole like do it yourself creativity vibe, using the
Hmm.
resources you have at hand to accomplish things that no one could have expected. Like, if you want to form a rock band, you don't need to know how to play the instruments, you can learn. And that's how Sid Vicious became the worst and most popular bass guitarist in the world. So I strive to be better than Sid Vicious was at guitar. And punk rock makeup ended up being something that I fell into. It was a side hustle. I was doing special effects makeup for small indie films while I was studying forensic medicine.
Hmm.
I'd always used forensics as like my main thing and art as a way to study it. But then the art started being so successful, it kind of became my full-time job, and I just stopped doing forensic science. And it became a business, so I called it punk rock makeup, and now here we am. Here we am. Here we are.
I think going into that, like this is the first time I ever heard you're doing forensics. I know I was doing research on like you yesterday, but I didn't say your major. But
Right.
forensics can actually help you doing all those looks that you do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it all started when I was a little high schooler and I wanted to learn anatomy. And
Hmm.
I realized, oh my God, these two worlds blend together so well. It kind of blew my mind how well they
Yeah.
work. So yeah, I definitely think that that's been something that has elevated my artistry in a way that maybe the average beginner might not
Hmm.
have, because right off the bat, I know when something looks fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's go into our next section. We talk about love.
Ooh.
Talking about your fiance earlier. We know you've been engaged, but everyone's dying to know. Did you and your partner finally tie the knot?
We finally have a date and put down all of the deposits, June 7th. It's not going to be horror themed by any means. We don't have that
Mm,
kind of budget. Although if it were up to me, I could probably find a way to make it happen. It's what I
yes.
do. But unfortunately, I have elderly family members who can't afford a heart attack right now. Maybe
Hmm.
on another date. But I'm very excited. My partner is a more established performer than I am, Stella Bohem from Queen of Glam Tarot. I'm doing the shout out because she has a book coming out soon. So, keep an eye out for that.
Well, I'm so excited, and I look forward to perhaps me and Kendall receiving an invitation in the mail.
If I win this competition, I'll probably be able to up the budget of the wedding.
Yes. Well, speaking of big news, talking about competitions, congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
You've been cast in the new season of Orlando Drag Race Live.
Yes, I have.
I think knowing that Orlando Drag Race Live is hosted by like one of my favorite queens that gave me a start, Katana Gemini, I have to give that shout out before I ask this question.
Mhm.
What was that moment for you, and how are you planning to bring your artistry to this competition?
I mean, that moment was kind of unreal. It took a little bit of time for it to sink in because auditioning, submitting my information, all of that, it was a long shot kind of thing.
Hmm.
I was upfront with them, like, all things considered, I'm relatively a rookie. Uh,
Hmm.
and so, in a way that kind of is advantageous because I have more to prove and I've got the studio behind me to help make that happen. But I still didn't think it would happen. I
Yeah.
first thought it might potentially have been friendship nepotism. I thought maybe it's because my friends put in a good word. But no, everybody confirmed it was my own merits, and I don't know what those merits are, but I certainly hope to prove them to the audience.
I think I've seen it with like your own art, not only you owning your own makeup studio, but like with your artistry so far, compared to like the other artists that I've seen, the only one that matches up you of like madness, but your art speaks for your own. So it's as I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all of you guys bring different things to the table.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really cool cast this year.
So I want to play a little game with you. I like to call this game Slay or Sashay. And you'll have to decide whether you're ready to slay or if you rather sashay away from these questions about Orlando Drag Race Live.
Well, hey,
Hence, hence the question.
yeah, let's go on a sleigh ride. Come on.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The competition hasn't started yet, but do you already feel like you're going to slay your first challenge? Or are the pre-competition jitters making you want to sashay away?
I mean, I will admit I've had moments of weakness where I think, what am I doing? Like, what if I embarrass myself? Should I just like give up now? And immediately I realized like that's ridiculous. So my decision is to slay it all. I have some crazy ideas, and one of the things that I pride myself on is planning for the worst. I have a German grandmother who thinks very worst case scenario, doom and gloom. So I think, well, what would Oma think? How can this go wrong? Then I prepare for that. So I feel like no matter what happens, I'm at least going to be safe and have something cool to show the audience and the judges. My hope is to get through the whole thing because I got some really, really cool stuff planned.
I feel like all you can do with competitions is try your best, and whew, that's why I'm glad that I am not judging or haven't been on the cast yet. Because I look at these judges and I'm just like, and then I look at the cast and I'm like, I am not ready for that level yet. And I've been doing this for 4 years, but I'm just like, I just did a competition a year ago, and I'm just like, am I ready for it again?
A lot of pressure. And in a way, though, what has made me feel better and worse simultaneously is the rest of the cast because
Hmm.
they're so talented. But then one, I remember that, like, well, I've been cast alongside them, so there must be a reason for that. You know,
Yes.
Katana and the crew think that I'm on that level, which
Hmm.
is a huge compliment. But the other thing that I remind myself is that, like, no matter what, I can feed off of this energy, I can work with it, and that nervousness can, like, inspire me to keep taking things to the next level. You know, if I
Yeah.
think, this creature needs to be more creaturey, it needs to be more creepy, then it's like, all right, let's throw some scales in that bitch.
Mhm.
This is the time for that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you bring to Orlando Drag Race before we go to the next question. So, before the competition kicks off, do you have a solid game plan to slay every challenge, or are you leaving things open and ready to adapt on the fly, even if it means sashaying through the process?
Kind of like I alluded to a second ago, like I do have a lot of plans and backups. I'm purposely spending my time spreading out how I work on things so that,
Hmm.
like, say I have a really good idea for week 6, which I do, but it involves a lot of work. I can preemptively do the stuff that would need, say, a long time to dry, but I'm not investing too much so that I can focus on the energy on like the earlier stuff
Yeah.
so I can make sure that I'm in the competition long enough to use the later ideas. Um, but at the same time, I'm having backups in case things go wrong. Uh, for example, like my original idea for week 1, I recently saw a queen in the area do something similar, so I had to use my backup.
Hmm.
And it's a wonderful example of why it's good to be prepared for worst case scenarios. But I also
Well,
keep
if you're using your backup, can you tell me what that first idea was?
the first idea, technically, I'm still doing a variation of it, just a different way. But it had to do with dinosaurs.
I
And
I kind of see that.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that person, went like literal with the dinosaur.
Hmm.
And I was like sculpting all these dinosaur scales and this tail and all that stuff. But in the background, I was doing more of a like costume punk rock version that's like
Hmm.
cheaper that I had my intern working on as the backup. And we ended up using that. So now we're putting that in the forefront.
Okay,
Um,
so that would work out a lot different than your original.
yeah.
And I think I know exactly which drag artist you might be talking about, who's actually my drag sister,
Oh,
Miss Mystery Hugga, who just did Jurassic Park last year.
Yep, that's the one. Literally, when I saw her thing, it was like, this is so much better than what I was working on. I was just like, I already knew about the other stuff that was happening, and I was like on her side, saw the Mario thing. But when I saw the Dilophosaurus that she did, I was just thinking, damn it, that bitch, it's better than what I would have done.
I only remember that idea because I was helping my drag sister last year with it, and, and she was like, "Okay, what can I bring to the table that people haven't seen before?" I'm
Yep,
like, "You got to speak to what you know and step out of the box," is what I told her. And
it's
so she
funny.
took that literally. Eh,
That's the exact conversation that I had with my intern. And honestly, though, like the fact that we, as these two separate teams came up with that idea, I feel like it means there's something to it.
yes,
And
it's
so
great that you have a team behind you as well.
yes, for sure. Team Stigma is an opportunity to elevate artists who
Hmm.
haven't had the opportunity for a platform or even gigs. So I'm either hiring people who, need those gigs to like have a portfolio and, pay for their art, but also the interns who want to learn, but they're in the catch 22 of you need experience to get the internship, but you need like, but the only way to get an internship is with experience. And it's just
Hmm.
like the whole thing of, so I'm just like having these people who I see the potential in, just using that to give them a chance to have their ideas be heard and to learn at the same time as helping me out. So it's all
Yeah.
mutually beneficial.
Well, next question on our sleigh or sachet. So, I actually went all the way down. I did not mean to do that. Okay, so let's talk about this girl over here you mentioned in your interview, Madness.
Oh my God, yes. Love her
So they're the talk of the town as you guys almost kind of do the same thing because you guys both love horror drag,
for
which I
sure.
love, but I do it in a different way where it's gender fuck and gender
Right.
fluid demon. So
Oh yeah.
do you think you're going to slay them in the competition, or does their reputation make you want to sashay away?
I mean, it makes me nervous. Don't get me wrong. I'm only human. When I see someone that's pretty, I'm going to get nervous. That's the rule.
Hmm.
But my hope is to lovingly wipe the floor with them.
Well,
All due
that's the
respect,
slay audience, I hear.
like,
So, mentioning that your drag ego, because you didn't say anybody first eliminated, you said in your interview your
too
drag ego
many.
might be the first eliminated. So, are you ready to slay the competition and prove that wrong, or do you think there's a chance you'll sashay away early?
I'm ready to prove myself wrong. Like I said, I was shocked to get cast.
Hmm.
So I'm not to be one of those people who's like, it was just an honor to be nominated, but it
Yeah.
was an honor just to be nominated. That being said, no matter what comes out, would I love the $2,000? That's the goal. I love
Yes.
money. I have taxes to pay. It's that season. So
Plus, that sets you up for more open opportunities in Orlando.
that's the big thing that I'm going for. Like I'm treating every single night as like an audition
Hmm.
to the drag world.
Yes.
Um, and I especially think that what sets me apart from This Is Madness is she has definitely got more of the glam horror down
Hmm.
from what I've seen anyway. I'm a little ignorant to the scene. I'm really bad at knowing what's going on around me socially. I'm usually just this little mutant who's, just like in a corner. But but from what I've seen, she's a little prettier horror than I am. And I think that my advantage might be with prosthetics and that kind of side of the horror realm, a little more body horror, more creature.
See, I think where you and Madness step into more of like the horror, that's kind of like how my boyfriend Kendall is, where he steps into horror slash punk rock, where I'm just like, I like versatility with my art. I like to do gender fluid in every artistry. I can do glam, I can do emo, I can do punk rock,
Exactly.
whatever you need me to do. I want to do. It's just my artistry is more of how I'm feeling at that time. So
Absolutely. I can
I
totally relate to that.
Yeah, I think with me, it's more of how Sam and Samar. So Sam is my drag king side, and then Samar is my drag queen side, where I'm just like, okay, who wants to come out today, and what do you want to do?
For sure.
They usually tell me before I even know.
I'm with you there. And in a way that I think that's one of the reasons subconsciously why I give myself options, which I call backups,
Mhm.
because it also just depends on what I feel like in the moment. Because I think a big part of drag is the headspace you're in,
Yeah.
how you wear everything, you know? There's a lot of people who I can tell the outfit is wearing them
Hmm.
rather than the other way around. And I think the key is like, what are you thinking while you're wearing it? Because it defines how you hold yourself
Yes.
and what you're describing with Sam some more and all of that, like I'm totally with it. And that's why I have stuff like the slutty alien or bearded Joan Jett. Um, or like for the promo pics, the good girl gone bad with the decomposing Catholic schoolgirl.
Which I love from you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I took gone bad, both literal and figurative. But it's all about having fun with it and like the vibes, you know? I think
I think
it's
that's what you have to do with like competitions. It's like try your best, have fun. Just go into it knowing that you brought your all, but don't put too much pressure on yourself.
absolutely.
Hmm.
I'm like if you can put your money where your mouth is for one, but also like if you have the attitude of I've already won no matter what, those are always the people that manifest winning, I think.
Yeah, sorry, Kendall right there.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, I let him sleep the whole day while I did the interview, so
Well, I envy that.
so let's see where we are. Okay, so do you think your horror aesthetic will help you slay the competition, or are you worried some of the challenges might force you to sashay away from your comfort zone?
That's a good question. Something I've actually been thinking about. Um, I completely recognize, like what I mentioned with prosthetics, that I do have an upper hand there compared to the other um, competitors, just because that's my literal field of expertise.
Hmm.
But because it's so niche, that does have the potential to be like too much horror, like especially if they're looking for something pretty.
Yeah,
That being said, not to spoil anything, there are a lot of categories, both for like the challenge slash runway and the performances themselves that are either directly conducive to my kind of stuff, whether it's horror, science fiction, that sort of thing, but also cr provide creative opportunities for me to make them my own.
yeah.
So I'm going to decide on the answer that I think it'll be an advantage. Uh,
Be an
because I know
advantage, so that'd be a slay right there.
this, yes.
So the judges can be tough. Are you ready to slay the critiques and use them to your advantage? Or is there any part of nervousness that might have you sashaying away in doubt?
I mean, whether or not I feel the nervousness, the only way that's allowed to come through in my performance is to feel it energetically.
Hmm.
You know, that there is something about being on stage or just on when you're in drag that like those nerves are kind of part of the energy that makes it work. But when it comes to the judges' critiques, I recognize that they're the ones who decides who wins.
Yes.
So, like, what they have to say is kind of like the word of God does. It's the gay God. Like, that's what we need to know to win. So, my goal is to not only listen and take to heart what they have to say about myself, but
Hmm.
to listen very closely to what they have to say about the other competitors, because that could potentially be a clue. What if I'm planning something in a future event and they say they don't like this sort of thing? Well, hey, now I can change ahead of time and make it work to what they will like. So
The thing about you that you don't have to worry about is someone I'm scared of on regular drag race.
some of those judges are intense.
Yeah, I think yesterday I was watching Drag Race and they were telling Arietti who is a very alternative queen, they're like, I don't like your face. You need to change this up. And I'm like,
No, that's just bullying. Come on.
like no, and the worst part, not even that, but Michelle Visage tells Susie like right then, she's like, I like how your face is usually Betty Boop in 1930s, and literally you took it and basically made yourself more glamour, which I like. Maybe some competitors can take note of this. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah, some of what judges have to say scare me. Exactly moments like that. And also, it's like if they want us to do something another competitor is doing well, how do we take that and make it our own, but
Hmm.
also make sure that it doesn't look like we're ripping off that person's thing?
Yes.
I think that's a big one. That's why the other side of it is you have to take that stuff with a grain of salt and remember that it's for the competition. It is absolutely constructive criticism for you as in
Hmm.
drag as a whole if you want it to be. But say
You
somebody
gotta
comes
pick and choose like which ones are you taking, which ones are you ta not taking.
for sure, because some judges might say, "Girl, that's too much eyeliner," and others might say, "There is no such thing as too much."
Or like they said to Dawn last year, get rid of the elf ears for about a while.
Uh, no, elf ears are great. I mean, I haven't seen these elf ears, so I might say something else if the edges are blended. But elf
I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you watch Drag Race usually or not.
I need to be better at being consistent with it. I keep starting seasons and then not finishing them. It's usually because of Star Trek. I'll usually find something new alien to obsess over.
Yes. My boyfriend loves Star Trek too. He loves to watch it all the time.
It's peak autism, you know?
I think what I'm watching recently is my favorite show, Once Upon a Time. So
Oh, I love that show so much. What's her face? Regina is like
that's my
if
favorite character.
her outfits, and like if I were to do like more fishy horror drag,
Hmm.
that's the kind of drag that I would do.
See, that's Samara right there. That's why I'm
That's
like, Sam is the one who like Samara can step out of the box, but Samara's like more fishy glam, where it's like Sam is like, can I just be punk rock over here? Can I just rock out at a concert?
exactly. I dig it. I dig it. I love it so much. I
Okay,
love
we're
that.
going.
Yes.
No, I was about to say we're going too much off topic.
Hmm. It's what I do best, baby.
I
This is
love
what
it
you
though.
and I have to do.
Okay, so let's see where we are because I got lost too.
You're good.
Okay, since the competition has been postponed, do
Mm.
you feel like this is extra time to help you prepare to slay harder, or are you worried the delay might make you want to sashay away from the pressure?
Okay, before I say my opinion, I want to say the reasons for the delay are probably the worst reasons possible, and I am not happy that that happened. That being said,
And that's why I don't go to that place anymore.
right. It's gonna take me some time on an emotional level.
Hmm.
I don't judge anyone who keeps going or stays there, but so the reasons suck. But how they benefited me is they gave me more time to work on this stuff.
Hmm.
I'm terrible with deadlines. So the second I enter like last minute frantic deadline mode and I get a bunch done, and then somebody tells me, actually, you have even more time, it means that I have two full sessions of frantic trying to get things done before the deadline
Yeah.
sessions, which is like when I do my best work. So it's like tricking my brain and my body into working harder, I guess.
See,
I don't know how to describe
see,
it.
I don't like deadlines either. I also don't like in competitions where they're like, so explain to me like how you thought of this look and what went into it. And I'm just like,
It's like, I don't know, it just looked cool.
yeah, that's honestly me because I'm just like some of the time I'll like be like designing or helping my boyfriend like with my looks. I'm just like, uh, uh, yeah, we put that there and we sewed this thread onto there. So I'm
It's
just
like you gotta
I
find
get
a
to the
wing
point
in it.
I get to the point that I'm just like just ask Kendall at this point. Just honestly ask Kendall. He mostly worked on it than I did.
I feel like that's art though. A lot of the time we just make things and
hmm
then later we give it the meaning. And the amount of times that I have made something and then I was like, well, it's not like artsy fartsy enough. And then I just pulled a reason out of my ass and then
hmm
I tell it to the judges at the art exhibition and they're like, it's so meaningful. It makes me wonder about like Renaissance art and stuff like that. Like how
hmm
much of it was them just pulling stuff out of their ass. But sorry, I derailed the whole thing again. Now taking it
No,
back.
you're good. I'm kind of loving this interview.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. There's a reason my family calls me the tiny professor because you get me talking and I won't shut
Yes. Well, that's good. We have more content to add from.
up.
So, going on to our next question, do you believe your strongest skill, whether it's your looks, performance, or creativity, will help you slay right out of the gate? Or do you think it might need to sashay your way into a groove as the competition unfolds?
I mean, it really depends on what the judges want. If
hmm
they want a pretty girl on that stage, they're not going to get that and they're going to
Yeah.
pick me. But if they want to see something unique, punk rock, and covered in scales, then I'll win. It's
Yes.
really up to that. What I keep telling myself is no matter what, at least I'm going to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Uh,
end.
you need to start posting some of your looks more 'cause I want to see more on
I
Instagram.
do. Ironically, like the stuff that I love the best is always when like the videos are the lowest quality or
hmm
like the person who took pictures never sends them to me. And I'm like, you know, just show me my face. It was really pretty. Um,
Yes.
and then they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna edit it. And then I never get it back. So um, I have to start doing that. The other reason is like I kind of take a million years to create stuff,
hmm
so I don't do things as often as the others.
I think with me, it came to I didn't used to post my looks until finally my boyfriend told me he's like, you need to start posting now, and I'm just like, okay. Well, let's start taking pictures every time I go to the club and drag. Do do do.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
then I can go through them and be like, filter.
I love filters. Oh my God, ironically, like it's always when I've got the worst makeup on that I see the most people who I don't want me to see in that case. Has that happened to
Mhm.
you as well?
I think with me, it comes because I mostly do my face just so I look good in every filter because where I get my makeup tutorial from, where I learned mostly, and I'm gonna give another shout out to these two drag queens from Drag Race, Jada Essence Hall and Morphine, because we kind of, if you see our faces, it's kind of like the same where I have square jaw, like kind of like they do. And it's not triangular. So most of the time I got to do that with the contour, most of the time where it's also with the highlight as well. But the thing that I hate the most about like my face and having sensitive skin, I hate blush. I honestly do. The only reason why I say that because I have to put on a liquid blush, another blush that goes with the orange, and
Mhm.
then for this side I have to put on another dark red blush, and I'm just like, can
Mhm.
I just have my life? Can I just put
The
blush on
red
and be done
dye.
like the other girls?
It's that red dye. America allows red dyes that the European Union has banned years ago. It's crazy.
Hmm.
But second you said sensitive skin and makeup, like you're speaking my language.
Yeah, I think with my sensitive skin, I have to be careful and I have to moisturize. I have to wash my face after, and I have to use, I can't just use regular face wash after I wash my face off. I have to either use a spray or this is a product I've been using that kind of works like more better than Albolene, where Vaseline's stuck on your face.
Right,
So I feel like I use that, and then I have to wash my face after get it all off, and then I have to basically put the moisturizer on, let that soak in before I even do anything with my face.
for
I,
sure.
have you ever had the problem of after you shave and then put on like even after you put aftershave on, you try to put foundation on, it's like my face is burning.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate that fucking issue.
Oh my God, I hate that. I first discovered that sensation putting on deodorant after shaving my armpits. And then, like, I thought that was the worst pain I could ever experience one day. And then I discovered what it was like to have facial hair and put on makeup. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this is worse. It sucks. This is what I transitioned for.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's a nightmare. It depends on how fast hair grows, but that's why I always recommend to my clients, like shaving with a razor will get you the closest shave, and that's good for
Mhm.
makeup application with like latex and glue and stuff. But doing it the same day is going to create micro tears in your skin.
Yeah.
And that's where all of the stuff is going into, and you're more likely to cause further irritation and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
because it's opening up those pores.
yep, exactly, all of that process.
And I think
Um,
that's also why I can't get my, because I use my Natural Bow if you can't tell.
you got nice,
But yeah, no. So these are actually threaded every like month.
damn, that's often.
Yeah, so because I grow bushy brows if you see my actual like brow,
Like Eugene
but
Levy.
kind of yeah. But I guess it's more of whenever I do my like brows that same day, I cannot do makeup. I cannot do makeup that day because
Mm,
otherwise I will be burning again.
that's totally rational, though. Like, that's what I would tell my clients.
Hmm.
It's like waxing as well. Don't do makeup that day.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, man, we got off topic again. Let's do this.
Sorry.
This is what I could talk about skincare all day. Like I literally went back to school to get my esthetician's license, even though like special effects makeup under the Florida Board of Cosmetology is the one like exception
Hmm.
where you don't need a license to do makeup. And I'm so nerdy that I'm thinking like, hey, if regular makeup is this irritating to skin after something as simple as shaving, special effects makeup with like liquid latex that contains ammonia.
Yeah.
Um, the best for makeup, like cosmetics, are alcohol activated, and that's like 99% alcohol, which is
Mentioning that there, I try to use primer, right?
ah,
Primer does not work for my face.
depends on the primer
Primer
though.
makes me like when I look and highlight because I have to use the under the eye highlight too, and I'm just like, why am I looking white when I'm actually this color? And you can see it when I was taking those pictures with Dolly compared to the other like nights, and I'm just like, what is
Yes.
this? That's
It's like, is that spotlight brighter than usual, or is it me?
why I had to stop using like primer. I instead use cocoa butter lotion, and
Well,
then
your skin.
I think I put like my setting spray on after I finish my liquids, let that kind of fan out, and then put the powders on.
Yeah, you got it figured out. You got a system going. Hell yeah.
I told you, morphine was my greatest tool. Morphine loved Dion, who's coming down here soon. She was my greatest fucking tool.
Oh, I gotta check her out when she comes down here.
Yeah, I think if you ever go to Ice Cream Sundays with Axel, he's having her in about like 2 weeks. I think it's Valentine's Day week.
Oh, good to know. I'll have to do something gory for that and come to it.
Yeah, I think we just had Dolly the last like 2 weeks too.
Yeah, I was there for it. Oh my God, when they said that Dolly was going to sing an original song, whenever some that's announced about someone from Dragula or Drag Race, I feel so bad, but my original instinct is to be, okay, here we go. My cat literally just fell off my lap. That's
See,
how
they
much
actually did really like
it was
fucking good.
it was good. My
But
cat
what
fell out of my lap to emphasize just how much I feel. It was surprisingly good.
see,
Like
but what I'm surprised about, I didn't know they were that like nervous and introverted in person. I'm just like trying to be like, okay, you are my shade of Dracula. Please, please hold back, AJ, please. Yeah.
I love that you bring that up because seeing Dolly was I actually came to that show because that was the day that I saw that Mystery Hugga was doing something like the whole dinosaur situation
hmm
early in the day. I like shut down. Like when I was on Tower of Terror, I was like not because of the ride, but because like I was in another world thinking, what am I gonna do? And then
Yes.
I message Eros and he's like, come to the show, we'll chat. And I'm seeing Dolly and this nervous energy and yet still like slaying it. And I realize, oh, even the people who've like literally won Dragula still feel like nervous little elves and things. I'm not alone.
Yeah, because I was like, they always say this, and I guess I've got this from a lot of drag race before I finish up this game and have us take our first break of this interview. Um, but when it comes to Dragula and Drag Race Queens, which I've noticed, they are very different than they are on TV.
Yes.
And that's why I hate most of the time these Redditors because they'll be like, no, you're a villain. You said this. And I'm like, okay, okay, what I've noticed from you Dragula fans compared to the drag race like fandom, the
Hmm.
drag race fandom, as I've heard from like interviews too, is very toxic.
Yes.
Where it'll be like you'll say one thing on TV and then next thing you know, you got your literally gigs taken away from the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure. I feel so bad for the people on these shows who are just trying to be themselves, not doing anything crazy, but get villain edits anyway. And
That's why I got glad with Plain Jane. That was her.
right,
That's honestly her. And I think that's what opened up season 17 stores where it's like most of these girls, this is what we call a drag dressing room. They're not holding back.
yeah,
We're getting drama now, what we've been asking for as fans for a while. And
for
they're not
sure.
fucking caring about it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so true though that like also just when someone's in drag versus out of drag too is a difference
hmm
that I think people conflate. Like, if you say your drag persona is a little bitchy, some people think that means that you're a total cunt. And it's
No,
like, don't get me. My
no,
attitude is to like spread positivity no matter how disgusting I look. But so it wouldn't be my thing, but like I never judge anybody based off the persona. And then when you enter something like these shows where you don't have control over how you're portrayed,
hmm
you gotta be very careful with how we look at these people unless they say something like the N-word, then that's different.
And see, that's what I've seen before. I'm gonna say this last thing before I go to the last few questions of this game. But that's what I saw from Plain Jane in season 16 of last year was I kind of relate to her with personality. So I've heard like not only my boyfriend say that to me, not only like a few other people say that to me, and I'm just like, that's how I am as a drag artist. And I'm like, that's how I can relate. I like some of the time I don't even know when I'm reading fucking people. I just do it, but I don't think about it.
For sure. For sure. And that's part of the artistry though, to be able to do that without thinking about it. And I think that's part of the authenticity, which is one of the things that I like about you,
hmm
especially in this conversation we're having. You definitely, what's the word, meet up to expectations where it's like I feel like I'm getting not just what I'm seeing, but interacting. It's legitimate, it's authentic. And
I
I
think
like,
what people used to say to me too is you have RBF, and I'm like, yeah, 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 I do. Unless you really get to know me, and they're like, I remember one of my drag sisters, Kalia, who's actually in the competition with you.
uh-huh.
She's one of my besties too. Her and Cinch used to always say they're like, we were always scared to approach you before you became our sister a few years ago, because we were like, we are scared. She has RBF. She might be a bitch. She might be a cunt. And I'm like, I'm just a nice person.
I swear it's always the nicest people who have the bitchiest RBF too. Or is it just me?
I think that might just be like I think that might be both of us, like which I've noticed too as well. And I'm like, okay, some of the time these people can't control that. It just rests. And I remember some like audience members when I would be out in the club doing like meet and greets, they'd be like, or tip arounds, they'd be like, smile, smile. I'm like, if you tell me that, yes, I know to smile, but if you tell me that's gonna piss me the fuck off.
Thank you. Exactly. I'm totally with you. Although I have an additional excuse, which I love to lean on when it's possible. I can only do it with people who don't know anything about makeup, though, which
Mhm.
is sometimes the prosthetics make it so that I can't smile and be friendly. So, like, I'll be at the club or whatever, and I'll be hanging around and I'll be trying, like, I'll make eye contact with someone who's like looking at who's this corpse in the corner over here.
Yes.
And I'll be like, it's okay, I might be decomposing, but I'm still friendly. And then I'll be like, trying to smile. And then I realize, oh no, it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
that's my excuse. I'm going to stick to it. If anybody sees me in public and I look grouchy, just blame it on the prosthetics.
Well, let's go to our last question and end off this game before we take our first break, fans.
Fabulous.
Last question for you, Stigma.
Mhm.
Even though the competition hasn't started, do you already see yourself slaying your way to the crown, or are you still taking things step by step to avoid sashaying before the finale?
I think for the sake of my anxiety, mentally, I'm approaching things at a pragmatic way
Hmm.
where, okay, this is what I can accomplish. What do I want to do? Okay, how do I want to do that? Step by step by step. But at the end of the day, no matter how nervous I get, I'm choosing to manifest success
Hmm.
because, you can approach things in a way that raises your blood pressure and your stress hormone levels. And, you know, on a physiological level, that is detrimental either to the vascular system or just everything does
Yeah.
not do well with stress. So, like I mentioned earlier, I choose to harness the good parts of nervous energy to allow them to propel me to constantly strive for my best self, whether it's as a human being, performer, or competitor,
Hmm.
because those are definitely three different things.
Yes.
But no, yeah, I choose to manifest success. I decide that I want to win the $2,000. I want the opportunities. And even if I don't get them, it'll still be a success. I will still get
Mhm.
my name out there. I will still show people that I'm capable of some fabulous art. And that's what matters at the end of the day.
Well, we're gonna call that a slay.
Hey,
And my spooky fans, that was Slay or Sashay. And before we keep this conversation going and digging deeper on your journey, I'm gonna have us take a 5 minute break.
fabulous. I have a tiny bladder that works.
Spooky fans, I am back. Okay, now Stigma, I need you to come with me. It's
Oh,
time to step into those portals that I got in my backyard
I'm coming.
and journey back through time.
Ooh,
Well, we're here.
where we headed?
Quincyana, Florida. There's
Ah.
a little demon praying to Satan. Hmm. Tell us, were you a demonic child? What were you like growing up?
Oh my God, demonic doesn't even begin to. It's not even the beginning. There were apparently my brother and my mom would joke about like hiring an exorcist just to see how I'd react when I'd come home to him. Um, I loved Halloween and anything spooky and weird and punk rock like from the beginning, as well as being like audibly trans. Just
Mhm.
my poor little family wasn't ready for that. Um, oh fuck, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
What were you like growing
What
up?
was I like? Yes, so I loved Halloween and everything, but I was also a total fucking nerd. Um, my dad, it was like this literal genius who was high up at the European Space Agency. So, he would read me like stuff about quantum physics
Mhm.
for bedtime stories, and my mom would read me Dr. Seuss. So, like, I love to play with language, but also like, random questions about the laws of physics as well. Anything weird, give it to me. And then, of course, when I entered my own stuff, it was all about punk rock and Joan Jett. Love her. Everything's about
So
Joan
that's
Jett.
where like more like that dark side came from.
Oh yeah, easy for sure.
So we fast forward to high school. You
Uh-huh.
went to the Vanguard School and eventually graduated from, don't let me mess up his fucking name.
Want me to say it for you?
Yes. There
Full name is Polk State College, Chain of Lakes Collegiate High School.
it is.
There it is.
Were you already exploring your creative side back then, or did that come later?
Oh, I mean, the creative stuff came from the beginning. I
Hmm.
was always coming up with ridiculous stuff, like making things. I would make outfits for my Action Man figurines and test out parachutes on anybody who dared to give me a Barbie. Same with the barbecue grill. Unfortunately, the grill was ruined after that. So was the Barbie, but that's not the point. Um, Always creative, but primarily it was with music. I had this weird ability to pick up instruments very easily. And so I just kept doing it. And when I discovered punk rock, I really wanted a band. So I taught my friends how to play the different instruments and made a band.
Yeah,
And that
punk
was,
rock band over there.
yeah, man. I wanted to be like the Runaways, Joan Jett's first band, where it was like all girl punk rock and like we didn't know it at the time, but extremely homosexual as well.
Yes.
Um, but when I came to America at 15, I started to develop tendonitis, so I couldn't play guitar anymore.
Oh.
And then I got into visual art because that's something that I could do with my hands. And it just snowballed from there. So high school was really the culmination of a lot of these different skills that I learned. And I had the opportunity to be doing college at the same time as high
Hmm.
school, collegiate. And at the same time as that, I was competing in forensic medicine. So with the HOSA forensic medicine competitions, I got really far. Uh, she really needs to stop climbing the walls. Uh, so I got really far. So that I like to joke that after I won second internationally, that I was one of the most qualified teenagers in the world to get rid of a body.
Hmm.
Um, and I was using special effects the entire time. And that's how I got my internship with Polk County CSI department. That's
That
how I,
actually answers my next question. Did that
yeah.
time in college help you discover your passions or creative outlets and drag?
Oh, for sure. Like I said earlier, my drag and my art started with forensic science. Everything was to learn forensic science better. I
Hmm.
was on track to become a medical examiner, um, like 5 years early,
So what
which is
made you give up the forensics to go into the drag field?
punk rock makeup studio, man. That thing took off. I kept
Yes.
getting hired for more movies, and sadly, a lot of them didn't get made, but the checks still cashed. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still a win. Um, but yeah, so like all of that stuff. And then with college came opportunities artistically. I had this one professor who basically bullied me into taking an art class because he was convinced that I would do well. And I resisted him at first because I knew that the second I took an art class, that would be the end of my medical career.
Hmm.
And I was right. You know, I took that design class and I was hooked and switched my major to art. And I love it because I got to take these art classes that completely changed my ability to even look at the rest of the world. I've never looked at the world since, you know, when it comes to especially an oil painting class.
Yeah.
Uh, what it takes to color match pigments to what you see in real life so that you can paint it to create shapes that are three-dimensional out of a 2D surface. That's something that really appeals to my nerdiness.
Hmm.
And unlike with music, it didn't come naturally to me, and that offended me. So I insisted on learning it the hard way. I didn't have natural talent, and I just kept going at it until it worked out, and it worked out. I still don't know how, but I'm happy with it.
So all of that stuff on that journey just keeps
It's
tackling on, and then you're just like artistry. That's the next level.
Yeah, and it's like it's always the things that are difficult to me.
Hmm.
As a kid, I was terrified of zombies and werewolves, and now those are my specialty. Uh, I was terrified of my own femininity as a trans kid, and as a drag queen, that's something that I've mastered
Yeah.
almost. I've made it my own, and that's the fun of art. You can make it whatever you want it to be.
Well, at one point, as according to research, you were a guide at Orlando Haunts.
Yeah,
How did you get into that? And did your love for all the things dark and spooky start there? But I can't say start there
it
because we were
started
doing
there.
it earlier.
Oh yeah,
So
from day one.
how'd you get into it?
That was really random. I'm typically patrolling stuff like Indeed and LinkedIn for gigs because, that's the gig economy. You always have to look for the next project.
Hmm.
And I was looking for something a little more stable and long term. I happened to expand the parameters to performance experience. And next thing you know, like I see that they're looking for ghost tour guides. I'm like, well, hey, I like spooky stuff. I like Orlando and I love history. And I always say that ghost stories are just edgy history, you know?
Yes.
It's goth history. Like it's fun. It adds more mystery to things. You watch enough horror movies and you get a vibe for the paranormal.
Especially with people liking paranormal nowadays compared we used to have slasher craze and now it's like all paranormal and psychological.
Sure, absolutely. And on a scientific level, like my dad being at the European Space Agency and a Catholic, I would ask him questions about like, how are you a rocket scientist and a devout Catholic? And his thing is like, one, religion boils down to don't be an asshole. And
Hmm.
two, it's like the whole point of science is that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
We want
The
to learn
series
more.
of unknown.
Yeah. And I used to approach the paranormal like, bullshit, until I moved into a house that was definitely haunted.
Yes.
And so I changed my mind. Then I get this job, and I'm thinking, like, well, this shit's fresh in my mind. And now I have somebody I can talk to about it, which is my clients.
Hmm.
And I get paid to talk to people for an hour. That's pretty good.
That's what yeah,
Yeah.
punk rock makeup studio right there.
And sometimes I would do makeup for it if I had like a big group. Ironically, the bigger the tour group, the less likely they are to tip,
Hmm.
because everybody assumes somebody else is going to tip the guide, that
Yes.
nobody actually does it. And the other reason is like when they see, oh, it's a big group, I can slip away when it's done, when this guy isn't seeing because there's a big crowd, we can just slip away and he'll never notice that we didn't leave a tip. No, we always
Yes.
notice. We always notice. It's our job to keep an eye on you and to make sure that you're still in the group. So we notice if you leave
Hmm.
a tip. But if I did makeup, boom, more tips. Um, and like I couldn't do drag stuff because I almost got killed a few times. But uh,
Oh.
I mean, if I shave my face and put enough liquid latex on, nobody knows what's underneath.
Well,
eventually.
maybe that's a guardian angel looking out for you and telling you're not supposed to die yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun. And it also made me better at like presenting, you know,
Hmm.
and talking to people, making jokes. And I discovered that I'm able to pull off sassy bitch if I try hard enough.
Yes. Well, if we step through another portal, when did you start drag and what led you to take the leap into this art form?
I always wanted to. The second I realized that I was at a point in my transition where I was comfortable enough to play with clothes and
Hmm.
makeup, it was a way of taking back the narrative, mastering the stigma, um, which later became an important phrase that inspired my name. But I started actually doing drag rather than like performing in crazy outfits or doing music and all sorts of stuff. Actual drag, I'd say 2 to 3 years ago
Hmm.
was my first full-on drag show um, as a performer. But I've been working in drag shows behind the scenes for about 4 years since I met my fiance. Um, and I've also done a lot of stuff like making things for other people's drag shows. Like my friend Arrow C. Taylor, he did a pageant with an Edward Scissorhands thing. And I
I
was the one,
remember that.
yeah, you remember that? I was the one who made the props, like the long
Really?
fireplace and the hedge Grim Reaper that was 7 feet tall. That
Hmm.
was just like some last minute shit that I threw together using scraps that I had lying around.
That's
Uh,
pretty amazing.
Thank you. To be fair, the Grim Reaper was a side project that I'd abandoned, but it still counts as scraps that I had lying around because it was literally made of cardboard and
Hmm.
like, you know, the boxes that cases of beer come in? I just taped and hot glued that shit together and boom, 7 foot Grim Reaper. Um, so that kind of stuff I've been doing for 7 years.
7 years. So where do you usually like I know this is not like the next question, but where do you usually perform at?
Oh, random places. Like sometimes I help out a friend if they need a little like acting scene before their
Hmm.
number. I'll do that. I did that with, I think her name is Cora Holloway or something like that several
Hmm.
years ago. Um, I've done stuff with my fiance if he needs a stage plant. Um, but with physical shows, I did, and most of my performances have been through my friend's production company,
Yeah.
Thrive Drag Show. We don't
I think
have
I've
a,
heard of that one.
yeah, there's different things to be said. We struggle finding an audience. We
Hmm.
find that there's been a few different things holding us back from really putting on a good show, but I still support my friend's attempt because the goal is to like create a disability, not just friendly, but accessible space for both the performers and the audience,
And
which is
I
hard to find.
to follow up with you with that, I think that's why I wanted to start off with like Kendall, this online sphere, because
Yeah,
most of the people they can't even go to clubs.
exactly. And I love that you get that because clubs are not accessible.
Hmm.
Like whether
I think
you
the other part I like about it too is that most of these drag artists like don't have a lot of places to perform at.
exactly. Um, it's a big example is like even if the space itself is ADA compliant, the dressing room situation isn't ever.
Hmm.
So my goal is to set up a drag show in Winter Haven where my studio is at because it would make the perfect dressing room space. And then we can like have everybody park there and then do a show at one of the neighboring bars. But
Yes.
right now, any of my shows have been like one we did at Encima, which is a private venue space. We did one at Savoy. We did one at Ivanhoe Park Brewery. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm blanking on everything else. I think that's all of the Thrive ones. I also did stuff at Friar Tuck, but I think they closed down or they stopped doing drag shows.
think I've heard of that place, but I've never been, so I wouldn't know that one.
It's British food.
hmm
And as somebody who grew up around British people, if you're gonna seek out a restaurant, I wouldn't think of British food right off the bat. So,
Yeah. If I
so
want, like, so
yeah,
me, like, I always like moved everywhere because my parents are like U.S. diplomats, so I would always like travel. So I've
right.
been to like Europe and also like Asia, and I guess like with the closest I'll ever, this is funny. This is really funny. The closest I'll ever get to actually British food that tastes like exactly how they cook it there.
Hmm.
You're gonna laugh when I say this.
Okay.
Universal.
Really
Yeah. I
interesting.
don't know. It's
I
just
haven't
like
tried the British food. I'm just jealous
um
now.
you've been to Harry Potter land over there, right?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, I know what you're talking about. It is surprisingly better than I expected.
hmm
Yeah. Thing is, I
That's the closest I can get to it where I've been in the States right now.
see when I was around British people, like except for like International Day at our international school, like
hmm
these were British people who were trying to not be stereotypes. So they purposely wouldn't cook British food and would like
Yes.
make like Americanized sushi with avocado in there or
Yeah, see,
whatever.
that's where it comes to me too, because I've had Italian food and I'm like, the closest I can ever get Italian food to taste exactly is either a hole in the wall or Carrabba's, for example. But then I look at like the food that they have Olive Garden or like the other Italian places that are Americanized, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you putting this into that? That should not taste like that. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. And I used to be of the mind, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. You can call it Italian as long as it tastes good, it's fine. Then I went to St. Augustine and I'm half Spanish, Spain.
hmm
I went to this place that was advertising like genuine, authentic gazpacho. Like they were specifically advertising how authentic Spanish it was. So
hmm
me being a little bitch, I'm thinking like this is the perfect opportunity to act like an entitled European. Um, so I went in and they were advertising watermelon gazpacho. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. I asked I'd never done this before, but I literally asked for a manager and I'm like, look, man, like have you ever been to Spain? He was like, mm. I'm like, okay.
yeah.
I don't want to sound like an asshole. Please don't call this authentic. It's totally fine to sell watermelon gazpacho. I even tried some. And if you're expecting the real thing, it would be awful. It's like getting orange juice if you expect to drink milk in the morning.
hmm
That's going to be gross no matter what. But if you are expecting watermelon, it was totally fine.
Yes.
Problem is how you advertise it. That's the hole that I'm. What's the term?
Welcome to the
Yes,
USA.
I'm dying on this hill. That's the phrase.
Pull up my next question I had for you because it went down again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. So
Oh,
before stepping into the drag world, did you ever watch Drag Race or Dragula? And if so, what impact did it have on you?
I did watch a bit of it. Um, I didn't watch enough of it for it to truly leave a mark because the second that it enters interpersonal conflict, I zone out.
Yeah.
So like I've been more of the type where when I have a specific idea in mind, I'll do research based off of the keywords. I'll do a lot of Googling. And that's how I've discovered people from these shows, but I don't remember their names. And the biggest irony of it, like people like Dali, who, was literally we were just talking about was at Savoy. Like I knew of their work from like Googling clown related stuff,
Yeah.
spooky, but it never clicked until I actually saw this person in real life. But something that did inspire me from the beginning was Nina Flowers. When I was 14, I watched season 1 of Drag
I love
Race. I
that.
love her, and
Yes.
I always thought of drag as either being something that's like for Shakespeare, Monty
Hmm.
Python, or like pretty girls like RuPaul. I never thought of that big. It never occurred to me that you could pull off this much eyeliner, and it was valid. But
Yeah, my like our drag faces change. Like I
yeah,
think have you ever been told where you do drag and then when they see you out of drag, they're like, you do not look the same.
that's the goal. That's the goal. And it's my favorite thing is people out of drag versus in drag. The
The
other day,
only
I
people
saw
that
Katana for the first time out of drag, and it blew my mind.
I was about to say the only people that like recognize me are people that know the male me as well.
Yeah, like for me, it's like if I like study it, I'd be like, okay, I guess I can see it, but I wouldn't recognize it. No, but yeah, Nina Flowers, I think, is my favorite person from Drag Race because she introduced me to the concept of punk rock being beautiful.
Hmm.
And that's what I think is key.
I think one of the first seasons I watched that really stuck out to me and was the birth of inspiration for Samara was it had to be you're gonna be surprised, not Sasha Velour,
Okay.
but it's Aquaria
Oh, I
because
don't know Aquaria that well.
yeah,
I
Aquarius from season 10, she does a lot of what kind of like what I do, where it's versatile, but it's more like edgy emo kind of.
yeah. Okay, I need to write this down.
Yeah, she's season 10 winner.
Season 10. That's one of the seasons I haven't seen. I'm terrible. I'm rewatching all of the seasons right now, and I'm only on season 3.
Yeah, and I think that really stuck out to me because once I started watching Drag Race, I saw that Evie one, and I'm like, that is what I want to do out of the box gender fluidity. And then next, because at first I started off as young, glamour, all that, and then not until probably like 2 years ago, then I started doing what I wanted to do
Yeah.
instead of what everybody else wanted me to do.
I feel like that's a big part of every drag performer's development. We always start with what we think is expected of us, and then we get comfortable and it's like, yeah, we're figuring it out for ourselves. This is us.
That's why I was about to ask you another question off topic. Like, have has anybody ever asked you to do glamour? Because I know they've asked me that in personal. So
For drag specifically, one of the reasons I don't perform very often is because when I do reach out to things, they'll either be like, your look isn't what we're going for right now.
that's what I've
We're
gotten
not
to.
casting, or they'll be like, can you do something a little more glam? And, I might like show them what I've done on other people's examples of my makeup skills, but typically they'll be like, yeah, it's just I don't really compete with the other girls the way that I can. I can't be unique if I do glam. It's still basic. So
And I'm
typically,
glad we can like relate there too.
yeah,
Because I was
it's like
about,
I can do it. But I might like rely more on like how I remember I used to look before I transitioned
hmm.
to like detransition myself, and it feels dirty almost.
Yeah.
Like, and
Because
sometimes
I'm
I feel
like, I can do versatility, but I prefer to stick to my gender fluidity party demon. That's my
yeah,
aesthetic.
exactly. Yeah. I just also, it's like part of it's like, I need a prosthetic of some kind involved.
Hmm.
It's just, it feels more fun that way.
I know we went off topic. I just wanted to
It's
ask
all
that
good.
question
As long
because
as you're happy, I'm happy with it.
I always like to ask alternative like artists that have that same experience. Did they ever experience that? Because I know what I experienced in North Carolina, they were like, you have to win pageants, you have to wear nails, you have to be beauty glam. And I'm like,
Right.
that was Samara for like the first like few years. And then once I meet Kendall, that changed everything for the last 2 years. Because now I'm going on to my fifth year in March going into drag.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And yeah, it's a big one. Is it random question? Is it me? But every time I hear about the Carolinas and drag, I'm always hearing like they want pretty, they want the Southern Belle. Is that true?
So, do you want me to tell you a little bit about Samara's drag family over here?
I always love tea. Tell me everything.
So, my fans know this, but I'm gonna tell this to you, Stigma, over here. I come from a real giant pageant family where you have like the Andrews, because Roxy takes me as her goddaughter at that point. That's why I've always called Axel brother, Cara sister. But
Gotcha.
and before the Carolinas, when I was in North Carolina for college, when I started drag, I came from the pageant family, the Carters and the Amons. So they were like, when clubs would book you, they would be like, you have to win a pageant, you have to have a pageant crown, you have to be beauty. And then whenever I tried to do something different with my makeup or out of the box, they'd be like, no. So when I finally got my drag mother Serenity at the time, she was telling me about the Atlanta scene when she was dating my drag father Jasper Hex, who's from Atlanta, that horror scene. You might know one of my drag brothers, you might not, or because I know you haven't seen Dragula that much, but Jarvis Hammer came from that scene, and Jarvis and Jasper helped me a lot to expand what I knew from beauty and pageantry to being like, no, it is okay to think out of the box. It's okay to think versatile. And it's not until I met Kendall and he became my drag son slowly to my drag husband that it's like, no, why are you doing what other people want you to do? Instead, turn it around and do what you want to do. Tell your own story.
Hmm. For sure.
That's just a little bit about me,
It,
Stigma.
that's a history I can appreciate for sure. Yeah, no, it takes a lot more effort to get like that validity, that legitimacy as a performer when you add the horror element, I think. And in a way though, like once you do get it, it kind of makes it all the more satisfying.
I think that's also why I related with my who I call my drag god brother Axel so much is because me and Axel have the same kind of art with what we're doing.
For sure. Yeah.
He
Oh, and
where
also,
he's just a drag king, but I take it a different way where I'm like, since I'm gender fluid and like out of drag, I want to take both of those sides. So I'm like, not many people have seen that before.
for sure. Yeah. So many, most of the time performers just kind of stick to one thing or they like create completely separate personas. I love it when people are completely okay with being different every time. That fluidity is so important, and it really reflects the reality behind humans, which is that we are not this thing that stays the same all the time. We fluctuate, we change, and that's normal. And it's beautiful. It's
That's
fun
why you'll never see me stick to pretty makeup unless it's really called for it.
for sure. For sure. I have to, my attitude is like there has to be a lot of money on the line for me to go pretty.
No, and I think one of the things that I got from they like I was watching Roscoe's, which is an after party online with like Nacia Lopez and everything, and they talked to different drag race girls.
Hmm.
So they were having Crystal Envy, Lucky Stars, and Mona Lisa on there yesterday from season 17.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I got that kind of made me tear up was Crystal being like, it's hard to look all pretty. It's hard because it is hard. It's
Hard to do.
like,
Yeah.
because you have to have a certain kind of structure to do all of that. And that's where she's like, I can't do what Lucky does. Lucky can't do what I do, as we've seen, but sh her art speaks for her own like artistry. But that's what I said to like myself last night when I was crying. I'm like, I can do pretty, but I can't because darker colors look better on my face. I
Mhm.
can't do all those bright colors, and it never works out for me.
Yep. I get that completely. I always look best in black. It's just, to be fair, everything looks better in black.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, my
Well,
usual colors, what I stick to are fire colors, which are red, black, blue, orange. Um, I'm missing a fire color, yellow. But I
yeah,
can't, yellow is only good
it's a
in certain
hard one.
conditions.
Yellow is probably one of the hardest colors to pull off, I think. I mean, oh my God, so much to be said about that. Oh yeah, my favorite color though is any blood tone. Maybe it's special effects makeup artist in me, but I feel like blood tones are the best reds of them all.
Yes.
No, I'm with you though that it's so hard to be pretty. And
Hmm.
I have so much respect for the queens who do that day in and day out. Especially the ones on a regular basis. That's so much work, that's so much padding, so much silicone, whether it's
Yes.
outside or inside your body, it is equally valid. Um, and I always try to make sure that I make it clear, like I have so much respect for the pretty queens, I just could never do it myself. And I'll
That's why
gladly,
when I look at like one of my friends who's actually married to Eros, I look at Carbon, I'm like, yeah, yeah, mystery Carbon, y'all can do this shit. I
exactly.
can't.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I look because I think one of the girls told me I think it was like Jordan Jade, who's actually casted with you. She's one of my friends, actually. Jordan was like, I think with you, darker makeup looks better on you than glam makeup. And she's like, because we were talking about different makeup artistry and how basically they look fish. And I'm like, Jordan, I think with you it's because you take it that level, but I think with you I can relate with you because you do more out of the box, but you prefer to do more emo kind of rocker girl.
Yeah, for
Where
sure.
it's like all like dull like sugar and spice, where it's like me, where I'm just like, I like big eyes, I like big lips right
Yeah.
here.
And it also works out for the kind of club lighting too, to have high contrast.
Hmm.
Um, I know for sure, like one of the things I ask my clients is what kind of lighting is the makeup going to be in? And the second they say high contrast, if anything punk rock, dark and edgy is on the table, I I steer them that route because
Yes.
you're going to look good in any lighting,
Hmm.
no matter what. Um, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, when I've seen you at like Savoy places, like that holds up.
Yeah, I think with like that's why I said like if you look at my photos, you probably have or seen me at Savoy. I
It's
have
the
to
horn wigs.
yes.
Yes, okay, then I get it right.
So I think with that, I have to be very specific, especially when I'm using, because I have to use very specific things to do.
Hmm.
And it's also because I think I got told this by my drag mother, Serenity Divine. She's like, where your face is more square like this, where it's not like triangle, like it goes like here.
Right.
So I had to be very specific where I take the contour. I gotta be,
Yeah, cut those. Yeah, cut it down a lot. Yeah, but you still got a good face structure wise to work off of because, there's a lot of faces that you can work with contour, prosthetics, and all that. There's some that are like you have to fight against them more.
hmm.
Going off of, what I've seen of you, of course, I don't have you in like daylight lighting in person to assess, but you got like the perfect canvas to work on.
I think the closest thing, like that Celine, one of my, who I call my drag sister, one of my very close friends in the drag scene too, she helped me where when I am doing the pretty makeup when I have to take, that's where I learned the blush technique. Also, not only morphine, but she told me to take that liquid blush because she has the same problem
Mhm.
where blush eats up her face.
Yeah,
And
for
that's why
sure.
she told me, she's like, I only do simple makeup if I have to. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I can't because I tried to do it before and I got told you look too dark for stage. I'm like, damn. And
No,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm supposed to be light skinned. I still can't see in the spotlight.
Oh, at least you're not as bad as my brother. He's the palest person I've ever seen in my life. And I grew up, my town in Holland was considered a beach town.
Hmm.
So every time we got rare sunny day in northwestern Europe, all of the German tourists would come to our towns and show off their white legs. Nothing is as white as my brother compared to that mayonnaise legs of the German tourists wearing socks and sandals.
See, and that's
But
why I envy Kendall a lot, because I'm just like, when he puts blush on, he only has to put on one layer. I'm just like,
true.
okay, yeah, 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 you can have that. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, random thing either for you or for the people listening, I've noticed that if some people who react to blush, um, if you're okay with lipstick, sometimes using lipstick as a blush works for that sensitive skin because lipstick is formulated for a much more sensitive type of skin and it has to
Hmm.
be mouth safe. So I find that sometimes if you're trying to figure out what's right for you, that's what you need, just a bit of lipstick.
I think I tried that before. I think the issue I was having was this one has to be the liquid. Then I
Mm.
have to put the orange. Then I have to put the dark red. But this one only has to be orange right here with the blush, so it doesn't need the liquid because otherwise, I don't know if you saw my other looks. I didn't. It was on a story where I usually perform, but it was coming all the way over here, and I'm like, damn, you barely see my highlight right there.
Yeah, it makes it migrate. Yeah, I don't think I saw that specifically, but I know what you're talking about from what you described.
Hmm. Okay, let's get back to this
Oh
interview
my gosh.
question. We went way off topic again.
It just means we're vibing, right?
Hey, we actually with us vibing, we actually skipped a few questions, so we're doing good.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, because we actually did already answer that one. So let's go to the next one before we go to the future now. How did the name Stygma come to be, and was it inspired by your past or art or something deeper that connects to your story?
Yeah, so I think I touched briefly upon it. There was a phrase that ended up coming back that kind of decided the name. I don't exactly remember how it came to be. My original drag name was medulla oblongata, which is the
Hmm.
scientific name for the brainstem. And the intention of that name was to form a drag punk rock band, Medulla and the Oblongatas.
Cool.
That would be a fun thing. It never ended up happening, maybe one day. Um, but so I just brainstormed with my partner some
Mhm.
like fun things that are relevant to what I'm trying to embody as a performer. And some of the common themes that have popped up was, my musical and performance inspiration is Joan Jett, and
Yeah.
her thing was breaking the stigma against female rockers. We
Hmm.
have everybody in the music industry who's a woman or just anybody who's anybody has her to thank musically, but also as women in music in the
Yeah.
entertainment industry. She literally would get spit on throughout her entire performance and she'd stay on stage dripping in phlegm, still performing. Um, so she mastered that stigma and then she ended up being a queer woman and is unapologetic about that. My inspiration, how I knew that I was queer and a trans man who wants to wear crazy outfits and corsets and glitter was Frankenfurter. There's stigma there. And then just being autistic or being from more than one country, meaning
Hmm.
that like no matter where I live, I can be accused of being an immigrant.
Yeah.
And there's a stigma there. Um, so I figure let's just take all of that crap and become the master of it, make it work for me. The last element is something I actually don't talk about. When I was a teenager, I had an ex who was into Dom stuff. When it became inconvenient, flipped it around and tried to say that I was doing things in a way that I would never do. Thankfully, it was like super easy. Like when she said it happened, I was literally in the Netherlands on my father's deathbed.
Hmm.
The other time it happened, I literally had was getting top surgery. So yeah, it was easy to be like, oh, this is bullshit. But when it comes to anything BDSM, I created my own stigma
Yes.
against that stuff. So I thought, like, why not create a drag persona where it's like if Joan Jett and Elvira had a love child with a shape-shifting amorphous blob, that could become whatever it wants to be. And that one-third Joan Jett Elvira amorphous blob became a dominatrix, that's stigma.
There we have the great drag artist in front of us called Stygma.
Yeah. So it's all about just taking the things that have previously caused me pain and turning them into my super.
And I think that's what like I like that drag does as well because I call drag sometimes. Drag can also be like therapeutic for me. And it's like I think when it comes to it, I think I started off with theater going into North Carolina, then I saw drag because I was shuttered most of my life from like anything gay with like my mom and everything. So I didn't even know who RuPaul, I didn't even know what drag was. I thought like it
When
was
I
just
saw
gay from what I
RuPaul,
saw on TV.
I didn't know that was a drag queen. I was so scared.
So I came and saw it and I was just like I think I want to try that. So the first time I saw myself in makeup, I still carry that picture on my phone. I never deleted it since then, but first time I saw myself, I was like I'm never going back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, those moments are so defining.
And trust me, I didn't paint my face the first time.
Okay, none of us do.
Yes.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I first met my partner, it was in a drag collaborative environment, and I was told that, you're not a drag queen, you haven't had like your drag family experience until your mother paints your face for the first time or something
Mhm.
like that. And it kind of it reminds me of like what I imagine the story of like the song Born This Way. Uh,
Yes.
when Lady Gaga's mom takes her and like does all that stuff, like for me, it kind of reminds me of that moment. It's like, this is the moment. This is my Born This Way moment.
And I think that's why I have to give kudos to because when I like kudos and thanks to my drag auntie Anastasia from North Carolina because she was the first one that painted my face. My mom, yes, she had done drag, but she was still learning those makeup techniques.
For sure. For sure. Yes, let's just send out a big thank you to all the drag mothers and fathers and godparents out there because that's what keeps this artistry going. It's that
Yes.
familial element to passing it down.
And I know like when it came to like I would say when it comes to like drag kings who I've noticed when I tried to help Kendo out as a drag mother because at first he wanted to be a drag queen before he was like, no, I like King better. I didn't see that much to go off, so I'm gonna have to give whatever that video was a shout out to. I think it's not Jarvis Hammer. It's I'll think of the name and I'll t and like and I'll let you guys know in the comments down below.
Fabulous.
But looking back on your entire journey from Point Siena to now, what's been the most defining moment of your life as a performer so far?
Ooh, question. I think that we are in the defining moment. You could argue my first performance doing XYZ. Um, but it's this experience with Orlando Drag Race Live that has I auditioned on a whim, never thinking I'd
Hmm.
get in. Then I did, and it was like, okay, time to throw myself in. And just all in, everything. My family is so tired of hearing about this competition. And so I think that's how I know I'm onto something.
Yes.
They're like, dude, we know your ideas are cool. Just shut the fuck up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, it's working. So I'd say it's now. And this interview is a great example of how that competition is coming into new opportunities that are wonderful experiences.
Yes. Well, stepping into Orlando Drag Race Live, Stigma,
Mm.
now that we're out of the underworld portals, if we fast forward to the competition now, start off with the obvious. How are you feeling about the competition? Are you confident or are there any nerves?
I fluctuate between a state of pure unbridled panic and then on the opposite side of the spectrum, pure arrogance, being
Hmm.
convinced that there is nobody that's ever been better than me. And on those rare, wonderful occasions, I experience a confident yet humble stability of
Mhm.
I'll do good. I'll do good. No matter what, I'll look good. That's the
All
way.
you can do is your best, and what I've got told, if you do that competition, you have more doors open, even if you don't win.
That's the way I'm looking at it too. No matter what, it's a win.
So even though that this is an in-person competition, every drag artist needs a standout entrance. How are you planning to make that first impression at the premiere?
Ooh, well, I don't want to spoil
You give
anything.
me a little hint?
I could give you. I mentioned some scales and some dinosaurs. You know what I'm not gonna do.
Yes.
Shout out to Mystery Hugga for doing a better job at it anyway. So she did me a favor. It's gonna be punk rock. It's gonna be fabulous. And oof, maybe this is too much of a hint. Maybe it's not at all. But there will be a hint of Queen Latifah that is
Ooh,
involved in the song. If you know, you know.
I think I know this, but fans, if you want to know what Sigma is going to do at the premiere, then show up to Orlando Drag Race Live whenever it premieres.
Yeah, whenever that's gonna happen, girl. I'm
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like I was one of the people who was like, even if there's a delay, we'd like a new venue just for safety reasons. But
hmm
hey, we're still in it. The competition's still gonna happen. They're not canceling it yet, as far as
But
I
I
know.
do I do want to see you guys turn it out.
We're gonna do great. We're all gonna be fabulous. I love this cast. We're gonna be good no matter what.
That's why I also have been doing my best to like support you guys as well, not only the people that I know, but people that I don't know, such as like you, Stigma, by doing this interview with you, like Cinch having her interview coming up, such as E, she's been in our shows before, having the interview with like them. And
For
I've been
sure.
supporting with Annie as well by buying wigs from her, because so
Oh, speaking of supporting and buying, we got our fans going.
you finally got them.
Hey. Honestly, my fiance's, this is my fiance's one, came like surprisingly fast. And then everybody else's came later. So I don't know what happened there. But no matter what, these things are huge.
Well, they'll probably be able to buy them now, while the postponement is still going on to support you
They're
guys as
still for
well.
sale.
So if you guys do want to support like Stigma while we're waiting for this premiere, you guys can support him at Niji Fans, correct?
I believe that's how it's said. But you can absolutely find the links directly to all of the Orlando Drag Race Live merch. For I know for sure that everybody has their own fan, and I believe there's even a general cast slash season fan. Um, I'm not sure if that's for sale or if it's just something that they want for specific people. And there's also talk about like posters. I'm not
hmm
sure if it's live yet, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And if you got your fan from me, that goes to me and the competition. But if you want more ways to support me, I do have merch on my Etsy that you can reach out to me for, Punk Rock Makeup Studio.
And trust me, I will be linking all of that to you guys, fans, in the description. Stigma, if you can send me those links, that would be great.
Yes, I absolutely will do that.
That goes into another question later when I'm like, where can people follow you? So you probably met some of the other artists at casting, photo shoot day, or around the scene. Who are
Hmm.
you most excited to compete with? And is there anyone who you think is going to bring the drama this season?
Oof. Okay, I keep needing to go back to the promo video because someone declared themselves the drama, and I feel like, or something like that, and I feel like I'd be offending them if I didn't say their name. So I need to keep going back to look that up. But girl, if you want to be the drama, you're the drama. It's all you. Realistically, though, I've been feeling a lot of love from this cast.
hmm
I think that everybody has, at least so far, shown themselves to me to be a wonderful person and wildly talented. So, as far as I'm concerned, everybody is fair game as far as being named a talented performer to watch out for and all of that fun stuff. Everybody's got me excited in their own unique way.
That's also why I'm glad I didn't audition this year because I'd be in the same avenue with like you and Madness, and I'd be like, okay, fuck.
Everybody's got something unique to bring to the table. That's what's
Yeah, I was like, let me do next year.
really. There's always a time for us,
And also because I was just starting to build up my company, that's also another reason.
for sure, for sure.
So while we don't have a TV show with months of editing, this is live and in person, week after week. How do you think performing live changes the dynamic of the competition compared to being on a TV show?
There's two directions that can go in with my answer. The first one would be, you know, I'm a producer myself. I know how, as a producer, you need to create the product that you want to create, and your performers are one of the ways to do that. So in Drag Race, producers create the story they want to tell, whether or not we as individuals want that story to be told that way.
Hmm.
When it's live, it's really hard to create a narrative that we don't have control over as individuals. So I respect that. And then there's the added element that, I've touched on a bit, how there's the healthy kind of anxiety, the healthy kind of nerves that bring the energy that you need to really entertain the audience
Yeah.
in. It's it's something, having the energy from an audience, it's like it energizes you.
Hmm.
And the problem with that is, I mean, it's great if you're doing a good job and the audience loves it. But if you have a number, like what has me nervous about my first performance number is it's critical for the audience to be into it energetically for it to succeed.
Yes.
So if I can't pull that off as a performer, if I can't connect with the audience that's right there, then it will fall flat.
Hmm.
Whereas that same kind of performance can be edited to be beautiful and perfect on camera.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like our merits as individuals and performers are going to be even more on display than they would be on camera with a live audience.
Well, you talked a little bit of that about this, so I'm just get that one. Talked about that one as well.
Oops, my bad. I derailed your whole
No,
question.
it's good that we're going off topic because I'm just like I don't want to run you out of time.
Oh, you're good. I'm here all day. Any excuse to focus on me is a good reason.
Okay, so let me pause this and let me find the question we're on.
Yeah.
Now, okay, while the challenges haven't started yet, what type of challenges do you think you'll dominate? Are you hoping for sewing, performance-based, or something unexpected?
I mean, I always try to be a little unexpected and to try to push the envelope in a way that people don't expect, um, including some experimental techniques. For the horror ball, I thought, I could go for a classic monster. Why not construct a dress out of blood itself?
Mhm. Ooh.
So I've been working with quite a few designs on how to accomplish what I call the blood dress. It's like, what if the moment that all of the blood dropped on Carrie
Mhm.
was captured in a high-speed uh, photography, like snapshot, and then you made a dress out of it. So there's a lot of creativity, uniqueness, pushing envelope with materials. Um, but then there's other ways where I'm paying tribute to my roots.
Mhm.
I have a whole performance that is a tribute to the Netherlands. I call it my host country because whilst I'm not from there, I grew up there,
Mhm.
and their whole thing is the color orange. So I found a way to make orange be kind of fabulous.
I love that for you.
Yes. And of course, it's still going to have prosthetics and be creature related. It's just going to be fabulous as well.
Well, I'm excited to see these ideas come to life on a stage.
Good. As long as I stay in the competition, you won't be disappointed.
Yes. I'm sure you'll also be posting your looks like if you don't stay up because knowing you, you're gonna start posting after this.
Oh yeah. I've been working on this stuff for a while. Like I already talked to Eros and I was like, dude, I've invested so much in these ideas. Like if I get eliminated before I get to use them all, is there any chance I could use them at like Unity night or something? He was like, so hopefully
Yes.
this scenario, there'll be a place for me.
Well, mentioning Eros and the Orlando drag scene,
Uh-huh,
it's known for its tight-knit community,
for
but
sure.
it's still a competition. Are
Yes.
you more focused on making friends or snatching the crown?
Um, Kind of a bit of both. Uh, my focus is making connections.
Mhm.
And, whether that's friendship or professional connections, I'm open to it. Um, my goal is even if I don't win the crown, which I still am gonna go for, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
First things first, win the crown. But in the process, I don't want to lose my integrity as a human being and an
hmm
artist. And then also, like, I know deep down, I'm well aware that I am the underdog. I'm the rookie, the newcomer. Statistically speaking, I'm technically the least likely to win. That
hmm
doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but my goal is to maximize the use of my time in the spotlight, however long it lasts,
hmm
and to create something out of that. Like Trixie Mattel with her first season, to quote Katya, there was no way you were going to win that.
Yeah.
I have that line like on a loop in my brain. I'm trying to not give it power. Well, the way that I look at Trixie is she built her empire on making merch and
hmm
timing with her first season that she was in Drag Race. So even though she didn't win her first season of Drag Race, she still turned her whole brand into an empire. So who's to say that can't happen? Um, and I'm just trying to make
We already see it with the company that you own right now.
exactly. Yeah, and in fact, speaking of like, I today literally the first t-shirt for my own original merch came out. So we got
Oh, I love
it's
that.
a little test piece, but it's from an original artist who beat me for best in show at an art exhibition. And at first I was really salty about it. Then she came up to me and gushed about how much she liked my work and was mad that she won. And I was like, okay, I like you. I'm gonna hire you. So ever since I've been working with her.
Well, speaking of competitions,
Mhm.
have you ever thought about taking your talents to the big stage on Boulay Brothers Dracula?
Yes. Oh, but there's a few things that would need to happen, and correct me if I'm mistaken. I was under the impression that people on Dracula can't credit designers who made things.
I did not know that.
I'm not sure. This is something that I heard from somebody else. This is not a primary source. So don't hold me to it.
I didn't know that personally, so that's why I'm like, I don't know.
Apparently, according to this person, they're looking for the illusion that the performers created everything.
Mhm,
And that is absolutely something I strive for. But as can be exemplified in this competition, I recognize that there's a limit to what I can do in the amount of time that I've been given.
mhm.
And also, this is an opportunity to uplift others as well as myself. Uh, I just immediately blanked. So, a good example is AEO Studios, my
Yeah.
mentor. Alan is helping me out with certain things. So I always make a point to like Alan gave me my first opportunity, so I continue to recommend him to everyone I can.
mhm.
It's just like that. So as long as the platform that I'm working on, I can agree with it as far as like an ethical level artistically, that's cool. The other thing that would need to change is more the conditions of filming because I do have disabilities. One of them is autism.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that does mean that I'm a lot more sensitive um, to heightened social, complex social situations.
hmm
I've done a great job putting on my Spock hat and turning social interaction into something analytical that I can study. And it's worked out so far. But in an environment like that, where I'm also on camera and could get a villain edit at any moment, I'm a little worried. So just a few things would have to change. And as soon as that happens, I would be the first to sign
Yes.
up.
Think mentioning the autism issue, I think I saw yesterday on Roscoe's bringing this up again. Hermona has that problem too, where she doesn't know that she's actually saying it until people actually tell her she's saying it.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, it's probably because I have like autism. And like, you can actually look in her background. She does have autism.
Yep.
So it makes sense.
Sure. It's like, don't get me wrong, Elon Musk is not a good example of I'm weird because I'm autistic. Like, no, honey, that's a Nazi salute. But but like, there's certain situations in which it's totally valid to be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings up another reason why I want to be really careful with certain things because I'm not saying that I anticipate anything happening, but I also know that I'm weird and
Yes.
it, people don't always take weird the right way.
Hmm.
And I would just want to be in control over how weird I am so that I only put out things that I believe should be put out. I don't, oh my God, I'm doing a really bad job of verbalizing what I'm thinking.
It's okay. Let's go on to the next question.
Yeah.
Winning this competition will be huge for not only your career, what would it mean to take home the title, and do you plan to use the momentum from this competition to further your drag journey?
I mean, first question, what would it mean? It would mean the world because at the end of the day, that's total validation.
Hmm.
I made the joke that potentially the first thing to get eliminated is my ego, and that was a joke about arrogance. But
Yes.
uh, it is true though, like on the flip side of that, I recognize that I could use some more confidence. Stigma is all about trying to bring that in. And if Stigma is able to win something like this, then it would mean a lot for me
Hmm.
emotionally. Professionally, I, let's be real, it adds a lot of legitimacy to you as a performer. We've touched upon how there's something, it's hard enough to get experience as a performer because it's like you need experience to get experience, but to get experience, ugh, it's catch 22.
Yeah.
With horror, it's extra. If I can win something like this competition, which wasn't even geared towards a creepy horror gender fuck cryptid, if I can still win it despite that, that I feel like that's the ultimate praise. And
Yes.
then you add on the caliber of the judges. If they decide I'm worthy of that, like, honey, like, I'm gonna be riding that high for a second.
Like I said, Stigma, even if you don't win, it's still gonna open like plenty of doors for you.
I'm with you there. I plan to make the most out of every moment.
Well, you got us all pumped up for your plans and perspective. We're all watching very closely as the season unfolds. But for now, it's time to shake things up with a little game I've custom tailored just for you.
Ooh,
Inspired by your dark and twisted persona, I'm calling this game the Seven Deadly Slays.
okay.
Each question will dig into your devilish side and let us see how you really embody horror.
Oh,
So let's see if you can slay through all seven.
okay. Hit me with it.
When it comes to performing, what is something that absolutely enrages you or gets under your skin, and how do you channel that wrath into your art?
Ooh. I think a good one word, cruelty. Whether it's from the audience or fellow performers or even oneself.
Mhm.
First step, be kind to yourself. The next step, be kind to others. Um, So if anybody's cruel to anybody in a performance, that's not okay with me. Um, and that kind of extends the rest of life, the whole conversation of mastering the stigma. These stigmas breed cruelty. And by breaking them down, we can create more joy and more kindness in our world. And I think that's something to strive for.
Like I said, do not mind. And well, I am
It's
in the
all
dark.
good.
1 second.
You do what you gotta do.
There we go.
There it is.
Like I said, don't mind him. So he's just
It's all,
waiting for his computer so he can go back to software work.
it's all good. No worries.
Okay, so let's go on to your drag excludes seductive dark energy. If
Mhm.
Stigma were to tempt someone into your hellish domain, what would be your ultimate look or performance to lure them in?
Man. You know, if I were to take your prompt for an idea literally, when I was reading this idea, I had this image in my mind of, the sirens from Greek mythology
Yes.
lure you in. And it's like, at first you see a beautiful woman, but then it's like a monster. Like, imagine an aquatic drag show where it's
Ooh.
like, there's like real world mermaids and things,
Mm-hmm.
tanks and all that. Like, what if we had performers like that, but they were drag? And it was inspired by the siren. So I feel like if it were up to me, I would totally learn how to swim with a fishtail and turn myself into the ultimate siren.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal is to that Lady Dimitrescu vibe, where it's like people want to fuck her, but they're also disgusted by the fact that they want to fuck her.
Yeah.
That's what I want to go for.
I love that for you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so if you could hoard one thing to perfect your drag persona, be it costumes, props, or makeup, what would it be and why can't you get enough of it?
Ooh, okay. I have the ultimate material that is the answer to everything if you had to work with one thing, and that is liquid latex.
Liquid
Because,
latex, I can see
yeah,
that.
because I know how to take, like, so this prosthetic right here, I use my life cast, so that's, a cheat, but still. It's literally like every time I make a mask or a prosthetic for a client, you have to cut pieces off.
Hmm.
Normally that goes in the trash, right? Well, not with me. I store it in a bucket and then I take a bunch of liquid latex, I put it down, and I stick these pieces to it.
Yeah.
And I put more latex over it. Boom. Burn victim texture.
And it looks exactly like you just came out of a burn like wound.
It's all recycled latex. And I am extra smart with it because whenever I mix up a custom color of latex, and I can't use it for something else, but if I leave it in the container, it'll just dry up and be useless unless I
Hmm.
stick it to something. So whatever I have on the brush, I'll just put it down on a surface. So I always have side pieces where the second I have extra latex on the brush, I'll put it down. It never goes to waste. All of the
Yes.
prosthetics and masks that have been made this way, all recycled material that otherwise would go in the trash. So you can also make costumes out of latex. And look at Joan Jett's outfits for the last 3 years. They're all basically latex because she's gone vegan. Um, it's a perfect replacement for leather. And then also there's a whole bunch of props that you can make out of these. Everything latex.
So just liquid latex. That's the quick
Latex.
solution.
Unless you have an allergy, then tough shit. But I
Yeah.
don't.
Well, what's the one performance or look you've done that makes you feel the most proud? Something that screams, "This is who I am."
Ooh, okay. It was Halloween, not 2024, 2023. And I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure it was the video of this that booked me Drag Race Live. It was the Slutty Alien, which is one of my characters. But for this specific performance, I did an anatomical magic show, which
Ooh.
basically it starts like, the handkerchiefs tied together that you pull out of a hat.
Hmm.
So it starts like that, but I'm pulling it out of my abdominal cavity. And then the handkerchiefs connect to green intestines that I then pull out. And then from there, I'm pulling out random organs, but I'm also at just the right moment pulling out random props. Like at one point, I pulled out a dead fish. It was a prop fish, but nobody knew that when I threw it into the audience.
Hmm.
Everybody reacted like it was the real thing. So, hey.
Yeah.
I even pulled out like autopsy tools as if the medical examiner had left them inside me. Um, so I feel like that's the peak of like comedy and camp, creature effects, prosthetics, and like gore without
Yes.
blood, you know? Just a lot of like body comedy.
Pulling all those different aesthetics into what making you for that performance.
Absolutely. That was probably peak Stigma, that performance.
I like that. I've never seen that performance. Maybe you can send it to me one day. I've never seen that one.
I
So,
don't have a full video of it. If you go to like my Instagrams, like whatever I've got on there is what I've got of it.
yes. I might check it out after this interview later.
It's the shot of the fish coming out.
So, what's one thing if you could steal an iconic look, talent, or ability from another performer, what would it be and how would you make it your own?
Ooh. Okay. Anything by Gottmik ever.
I know why, exactly why.
Uh, the only time that I Gottmik is everything like if that everything that I wanted to do in drag before I did it. I had all these ideas, and I loved the idea of like just the white face, the black and gray contour. Loved that. Then I see Gottmik, and it's like, oh, they did it first, and they did it better. So I
Yeah.
got to adjust. But there's one thing Gottmik did, which is I think it was in I forget what season it was, but it was the charity season.
All Stars 9. That's
That's it.
what that my godmom was this on there, Roxy.
Hey, yes, Roxy, love Roxy. That's actually what made me love Roxy that season. That's a separate topic though. But there is one episode where Gottmik played guitar live. I love Gottmik so much, but they shouldn't have done that because that was an insult to guitarists everywhere. I feel like I could do
It
that.
was an insult to guitars.
Yes, like it was
I
basically.
like that performance. I want to hear let me hear your perspective. I like that performance.
I liked it too, but remember what I said about Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols? He's
Yes.
famous for being a bass guitarist, but he's also famous for being bad at it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about how bad he was. At live shows, they would unplug his amp, but they wanted him for being Sid Vicious.
Yes.
So it was the delivery that made it good.
So you want more for the livery with that
Yeah.
one. I see what it
So
is.
for me, it's like I want everything that worked for Gottmik, but I want to be able to actually shred live and not sound bad at shredding.
Well, maybe in Orlando Drag Race Live, we could see you playing guitar with a band.
I may or may not be practicing an instrument or two, and if I can get it to my liking, I may or may not be using it if I make it to that specific episode.
Yes. The variety show.
Exactly. There's a few opportunities for it that I might use. No promises.
Well, hopefully, if we see it, we see it. If we don't, we don't.
And there's a lot of opportunities because I'm practicing the saxophone, the guitar, and the trumpet. Whichever one of them turn out the best will make it on stage.
Yes, we would love to see it.
Yes.
There were no limits. What's the most extravagant, over-the-top performance you love to create? Give us the full fantasy, costume, staging, and all.
Picture it. Sicily, 1923. Okay, no. Um, so I've actually been talking about this with an actor friend of mine. We were gonna work on a werewolf movie,
Ooh.
and I am very strict about health and safety,
Hmm.
um, especially after the Alec Baldwin shooting situation.
Hmm.
I never take a risk on set. This set involved like stilts, the woods, and fire. So but the ideas were brilliant. And so my goal, I've got all of the products that I need to make this happen. I want to do a werewolf drag performance. And I'm not talking like, ooh, I'm furry and ooh, I have a dog nose. Ooh, I'm so pretty kind of werewolf. Like
No, you're talking about this.
American Werewolf in London.
Can
Like,
I be completely honest with you?
uh-huh.
So, I have always been scared of werewolves ever since I was a kid, due
They're
to the
terrifying.
fact of that Michael Jackson Thriller video.
Thank you.
Because when I'm at Halloween Horror Nights and they pull out that Universal monster as
American Werewolf.
Wolfman, I'm just like,
Yep.
no, no. And then you should like, I think that closest I could deal with monsters this year. I don't know if you went to HSN this year,
Not this year. I was working.
but I went to HSN this year when they had the wolf come that way. I was like, no, leave, leave. Let's go that way. Go that way.
Oh my God. Right now, oh, you just brought up stuff involving projects that I'm not allowed to publicly talk about until May. And
hmm
I have to hold back, but I I love werewolves so much
Yes.
because they are terrifying. And the beginning of me being traumatized by werewolves was Michael Jackson's Thriller. Ironically, my favorite makeup artist of all time, Rick Baker, who did that, is later became my idol because of the trauma that his art caused me. So that's how you know it's good.
Yes.
But so the same guy who did American Werewolf in London, which is the first like defining werewolf transformation after Universal's Wolfman. It's the
hmm
first time the concept of the transformation was like painful and like where you physically see the anatomy changing from human to wolf. Um, and then they created a four-legged hound from hell as
Yeah.
opposed to the humanoid bipedal werewolf. Um, and he won the first ever Oscar that was ever offered for makeup artistry
I
because
think
of
I
America.
heard about that when I was watching a horror documentary.
Yeah. And so like all of that, Michael Jackson saw that and was like, I want that for Thriller.
hmm
And so both like the one of the characters, the Jack character that they used prosthetics for him decomposing, those were used for the Thriller zombies in that same
Really?
like, it all comes together and it all builds on it. And so like the very history of werewolf and makeup artistry, like the two biggest things, actually the three biggest things because of the Howling. Rick Baker was originally hired to do the Howling
hmm
and the stuff that he designed for American Werewolf was originally for the Howling. I'm
Yeah.
talking.
No, you're good. I was about to bring up another point of which I liked, but it is creepy at the same time.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
if you've seen the original 1980s Fright Night. That's one of
I
my favorite
have,
classic
but I
movies.
was tripping on mushrooms, so I don't remember it.
Okay,
Except
so if you ever watch it again or just pull up a clip from it, how he turns into like the werewolf, when you see the deformation of like
yes,
him, it's like so fucking amazing, so fucking creepy too.
it all started with Werewolf in London. So that's what I want to accomplish. That's the kind of thing that's extremely difficult to accomplish on film, where you spend
hmm
like a week like filming every frame like little by little. I want to find a way to do that on stage in a drag show where you see the transformation on stage. And it goes,
I have believed that you can do that. You could. It's gonna take you time to pull it off, though.
well, the key is to have multiple actors all made up in the different stages.
Yes.
But I can't do it for Drag Race Life. I have a friend, I'm working with it. I'm going to be working on a movie this year if the budget can come in. And all of these things, like if they come together, I'll have like molds already ready to go,
hmm
all the supplies, the werewolf suits. So who knows? Maybe this time next year, people will be seeing a live werewolf transformation on stage.
I would love. Like, I definitely need to see that.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the projects that I've always like wanted to work on to follow up with you, but Kendall won't let me do it because Kendall also designs all my outfits that you see, but Kendall will not let me do that Katniss moment where I don't know if you ever seen Hunger Games where where she catches on fire and it turns into a mockingjay like that.
I've been working
I've
on some.
always wanted to do
I've always wanted to do that too.
that.
Literally, like one of the reasons I started looking into how do I get my license as a pyrotechnic was inspired by Hunger Games. Still haven't got my license. One day it's gonna happen.
I just need someone to build me like a fucking look because I really want to do it for that Drag Race finale episode if I ever get onto there. It's literally have that happen and RuPaul just be like, what the fuck?
I have a theory that could work with the right costumer, which is like so sometimes when you have low budget on in theater for fire, they have like pieces of like plastic that are like yellow, orange, red, and then a fan.
Mhm.
If we went like Marilyn Monroe style, like you were wearing like a ghillie suit of like orange, red of things, and then you stood over air that was flowing that made it go straight up and flicker around, plus some like colored light that was flickering as well. I bet we could pull it off. It's just all about the stage effects.
Well, maybe when I get on Drag Race, I might have to contact Stigma as one of my designers too. Yeah.
You know that you'll get the best with me and it'll be on a good budget.
Yeah, it's I'll probably reach out to like you and Kendall so he doesn't have to do all my looks for me because that's gonna be a process for him.
Respect that.
Yeah, that's why he told me when you get that call on Drag Race, leave me alone for for the next few weeks. Yeah.
A month. Give it months. That's how you know it's gonna be good.
So where were we? Let's see. When you're not slaying the stage, what's your guilty pleasure or lazy day activity that helps you recharge your demonic energy?
Ironically, do more work. I am a workaholic. I used to judge my father for being a workaholic, then I discovered special effects, and it's all I want to do.
Hmm.
Um, that would be my only answer until I met my fiance, and he loves attention, so I'm happy to give it to him. And
Yes.
then I found a kitten, and now she gets my attention, and we're all gushy smushy. Most of our conversations are about how cute the cat is.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's it. Just let's just talk about the cat. That's my me and my
Yes.
fiance.
Cuddles and talk about the cat time.
Yes,
Let's
exactly.
call it cat talk.
Hey, you got it.
Well, Stigma, you officially survived the seven deadly slays.
I feel so special.
So, Stigma, what's next for you? We know Orlando Drag Race Live is just beginning pretty soon, depending on when that postponement date is lifted.
Exactly.
But what else can your fans look forward to? Are there any upcoming projects, performances, or collaborations they should keep their eyes on?
Yeah, so my Etsy page, Punk Rock Makeup Studio, should be having some more stuff put on there.
Hmm.
Basically, if I go through an episode and I don't use something, I'll probably put it up for sale, just to, capture back the investment.
Hmm.
I'm hoping to put up some more merch on there. You can go to anything regarding at Punk Rock Makeup or Punk Rock Makeup Studio to see what I got going. Uh, and for Stygma, the handle is at stigma.tism. It spells astigmatism because I'm a blind ass bitch.
Yes.
It's the main reason I can't wear contact lenses, unfortunately. Right now, you're a very adorable blur from here. Uh, but
I think with me, I can't wear contacts either because I tried before, but then my eye doctor was like, "Yeah, you used to have glasses and you used to wear contacts, so it's up to you. Do you still want to wear your contacts? You want to go back to glasses, or are you fine with your eyes? I just can't see far, so
yeah, that's
I'm like that's not a problem as long as I can see right in front of me, that's okay."
the same way right there. Like, it's a lot easier to correct the far away thing than it is the up close thing. So yeah, so stigma with a Y is what's important to remember.
Hmm.
If we're going Facebook, I recommend sticking to Punk Rock Makeup Studio. However, if you want to add me on there, you can go to my boy name, David Santiago Tate. Same for my IMDb page.
Hmm.
It's my name, not the studio name. And yeah, so also for the Orlando Drag Race live pages is where you can go to see anything updated surrounding that competition. And at least what they told me is if you got any shows, tag them and they'll promote it. That's also where you can find, as I mentioned, the link for my fans.
Yes. Well, Stigma, I will let you know this. You can send me all of those links. That would be great so I can tag them in this YouTube description of this video for our fans and fans. If you want to go support Stigma in any shows, buy any merch, buy any products made by them, support all of their work, they'll be tagged down below.
Yes, absolutely. No matter what, it'll be weird, freaky, and fun.
Well, Stigma, I just want to say thank you for being here. I love the horror artistry. I love that we're able to not only blend, like, bond over that, but the alternative. Like this conversation has been fun for me this evening. So thank you for everything.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you don't mind that it went so long too, because
No, you're good.
I
We feel like a 2 hour, 30-minute movie, but trust me, me and you when we're in the post, we'll probably be like, nope, edit this part out, edit that part out. We'll get it down to probably like the closest. My longest interview ever that went off topic was probably like 1 hour and 30 minutes.
oh my gosh, I broke your record then. My
Yeah.
bad.
No, you're good. It's all about the post. That's what happens in post.
That's so true. Like that's what I've been saying to directors for years. Like I'm a lot prettier in post.
Well, spooky fans, it has been a great unholy encounter. If you want to catch us on our next one, I'm going to give you a sneak peek of it. My hint is think Taylor Swift. If you know who that is in the Orlando community, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But until then, follow Stigma, buy their merch, buy their products, and we will see you on the next Unholy Encounter. Stay spooky, fans.
Bye.
And